Harvester Christian Church, welcome to Christmas at the Movies. All month long, we've been using the big screen to bridge familiar stories to the greatest story ever told. It's a method of teaching that Jesus loved. He called them parables. He creates fictional characters and then puts them in crazy circumstances and then bridges that story to the real-life story of God. C.S. Lewis was a renowned author and academic who did this as well. Has anyone here ever read a C.S. Lewis book? They're tremendous books. This year, I made it my goal to read as many of his books as I could. But there was one book I specifically skipped, frankly because I'd already seen the movie. And why read a book when there's a movie? Am I right? The film is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Have you seen this movie? In this movie, C.S. Lewis creatively tells the beautiful and intense story of Jesus' victory over death. And I tell you that now because we're going to be viewing an intense scene in a few minutes that might be too intense for little ones. As you would expect with a movie titled The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe are front and center. The film begins with three siblings playing hide and seek when they stumble upon a wardrobe. One of the siblings, Lucy, hides in the wardrobe and her brother Peter comes looking for her. And that's when they discover that it's more than a wardrobe. It's a gateway to the magical world of Narnia. Narnia is a cold, snowy land filled with mystery and magic. Shortly in the story, they meet Tumnus, a half-goat, half-human kind of thing, and they make quick friends with him. After his disappearance, though, the siblings discover that Narnia is not as safe as it seems under the rule of the White Witch, who has cast a spell to make it always winter, but never Christmas. Now, that sounds like a horrible spell to me. I love Christmas, but I hate winter. Anybody else? The cold is just way too much for me. This witch has to be stopped. After stumbling upon some talking beavers, the siblings hear that a plan is underway. And for the very first time, they hear the name Aslan, the lion, who is preparing to do something about it.
Oh, those aren't badgers. Oh, I never thought I'd live to see this day. Look at my fur. You couldn't give me 10 minutes warning?
I would have given you a week if I thought it would have helped.
Well, come inside. We'll see if we can't get you some food. And some civilized company.
Now, careful. Watch your step.
Excuse the mess. Can't get Mr. Beaver out of his chair.
Enjoying the scenery, are we?
Isn't there anything we can do to help Tumnus?
They'll take him to the witch's house. And you know what they say. There's few that go through them gates that come out again.
Fish and chips? But there is hope, dear. Lots of hope.
Oh, yeah. There's a right bit more than hope. Aslan is on the move.
Who's Aslan?
Who's Aslan? You cheeky little blighter. What? You don't know, do you?
Well, we haven't exactly been here very long.
Well, he's only the king of the whole wood. The top geezer. The real king of Narnia.
He's been away for a long while.
But he's just got back. And he's waiting for you at the stone table.
He's waiting for us.
You're blooming joking. They don't even know about the prophecy.
Well, then...
Look. Aslan's return. Tumnus' arrest. The secret police. It's all happening because of you.
You're blaming us.
No, not blaming. Thanking you.
There's a prophecy. When Adam's flesh and Adam's bone sits at Cair Paravel throne, the evil time will be over and done.
You know, that doesn't really rhyme.
Yeah, I know it don't, but you're kind of missing the point.
It has long been foretold that 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve will defeat the White Witch and restore peace to Narnia.
And you think we're the ones?
Well, you better be, because Aslan's already fitted out your army.
Our army? Mum sent us away so we wouldn't get caught up in a war.
I think you've made a mistake. We're not heroes.
We're from Finchley.
I love that line. Aslan is on the move. Mr. and Mrs. Beaver are trying to get across this point. Narnia may be ruled by the White Witch for now, but there's a prophecy that gives them hope. It says that the true king is coming. Before Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, there were also rumors and prophecies circling around about his coming, a king who would bring hope to a struggling people. One such prophecy comes from the book of Isaiah. 700 years before the first Christmas morning, Isaiah wrote of a coming child who would become a ruler that we could trust. Isaiah chapter 9 says it this way: "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity." Can you imagine that kind of ruler over us? We've all had bad experiences with authority figures. Bosses who let us down, leaders who make promises that they can't keep, and it's easy to become skeptical. We're told that this ruler would be different. A child would be born, he would grow up to be a wonderful leader, not a dreadful one, and he would rule like a father, not like a fallible man. And his reign would bring us peace, not division. That's a ruler that we all need. And I'm not just talking about our country. That's the kind of ruler that we could use over our homes and over our hearts as well. For some of you, things are extremely chaotic in your life right now, and you're struggling. Maybe you're not very religious, but you've even resorted to praying, "God, fix the chaos in my life." If that's where you are today, you're in a great spot, because I have good news for you. If you'll abdicate your throne, the true king is coming, and he would love to rule over your life too. Now, depending on what kind of struggles you're facing, you may not be excited about God's involvement. Many, especially those of us who have made poor decisions, rarely look to God for help. We would much rather struggle on our own than be rejected by Jesus. But I can tell you this: Jesus' rule is different than any you've ever seen. What we read in scriptures is that Jesus reigns with a sacrificial love. And if you're brave enough to come face to face with him, I know that you'd be surprised at what he's willing to do with his life to bring your life peace. Romans chapter 5 says it this way: "When we were utterly helpless, Christ came at just the right time and died for us sinners." Now, most people would not be willing to die for an upright person, though someone might perhaps be willing to die for a person who is especially good. But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. It's one thing to know that Jesus died for us, but it's another to realize the depth of that love. Jesus saw in us sin, every wrong choice we'd ever made, every hidden struggle, and still, he chose to lay down his life. In Aslan's sacrifice, we see this reflection of Christ, willingly giving up his power to save those who didn't deserve it. And that's us. We don't have to earn it because Jesus gave it freely. And that's exactly what Aslan does for the siblings in Narnia. In an intense scene of the film, Aslan walks somberly through the forest with Susan and Lucy by his side, determined to do whatever it takes to bring peace to their lives and to bring peace to all of Narnia, even if it means giving up his life for theirs. He eventually reaches the stone table, where the White Witch and her army of dark creatures are already gathered. In this scene, the once mighty Aslan allows himself to be bound, humiliated, and mocked. They shave his majestic mane, and he refuses to fight back, even to the very end.
Wait! Let him first be shaved. Bring him to me.
You know, Aslan, I'm a little disappointed in you. Did you honestly think by all this that you could save the human traitor? You were giving me your life and saving no one. Huh. So much for love.
Tonight, the deep magic will be appeased. But tomorrow, we will take Narnia forever. In that knowledge, despair. And die! The great cat is dead!
In John 15, it says, "There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend." When Jesus says that he loves you, you don't have to wonder if he's telling the truth. You don't have to wonder if he means it. I know you've had plenty of people say that they love you, and then they just left you. But Jesus isn't just speaking words, he's proving his love by giving his all. That's the message of the cross, friends. Jesus knows what you're going through. He knows the struggles that weigh you down. He knows the sin that you've committed and how they endanger your life. And unless someone does something about all of this, those things will literally kill you. Some other rulers may be fine with that, but not the wonderful counselor, the mighty God, and the everlasting Father. Not the Prince of Peace. He's not fine with that. He was born into this world to conquer this world and to give you a second chance. And the first step was to conquer it by taking the burdens from your shoulders and putting it onto his own. His sacrifice, his willingness to go to the cross saved you, but it crushed him. But that begs the question, what good is a dead king? Maybe you've asked the same question about Jesus. Sure, it's nice to know that he died for us, but can a dead Savior really change anything for us today? If the story ended at the cross, we'd be left with nothing but sorrow. But just like Aslan's story, the resurrection is what changes everything. And this is the good news of Jesus. He loves us and he rescues us. His death proves his love, and it's his resurrection that paves the way for your rescue. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe illustrates this beautifully when the witch thinks that she scored a decisive victory by killing Aslan. With Aslan, the promised king of peace, with him dead and gone, war raged through the land. And things seemed to get much worse after Aslan died. They didn't get better. But the White Witch and the siblings would soon discover that death isn't always the end of the story.
We should go. So cold.
Where's Aslan?
What have they done? But we saw the knife. The witch.
If the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice, she might have interpreted the deep magic differently. That when a willing victim who has committed no treachery is killed in a traitor's stead, the stone table will crack, and even death itself will turn backwards.
We sent the news that you were dead. Peter and Edmund will have gone to war.
We have to help them.
We will, dear one, but not alone. Climb on my back. We have far to go and little time to get there, and you may want to cover your ears.
With a mighty roar, Aslan proves that death cannot stop him. Aslan goes on to defeat the White Witch and restores peace to Narnia. It really is a great illustration of Jesus' story. But if death was the end for Aslan and for Jesus, those would be a horrible story that has no consequence for our lives. The Apostle Paul says it this way in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. If Christ has not been raised, then your faith is useless, and you are still guilty of your sins. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead. He is the first of the great harvest of all who have died. I love that line in the passage that says, but in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead. We're not just talking about movies, we're talking about facts, an actual event. 3 days after Jesus was crucified, he rose from the dead, and it changed everything. He proved once for all that nothing would stop him from bringing peace into this world, and he can bring peace into your world as well. Jesus says this in the book of John, chapter 14. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God, and trust also in me. There's more enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, wouldn't I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you will always be with me where I am.
Don't worry. We'll see him again.
When?
In time. One day he'll be here, and the next he won't. But you mustn't press him. After all, he's not a tame lion.
No. But he is good.
I don't know what's keeping you from believing in Jesus, but the Christmas season is a great time to explore the thought. Jesus is worth your best thoughts, especially if you need peace. I get it though. At times, he's confusing. He's unpredictable. Jesus is not a tame lion. No, but he is good.